What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Served on the Rocks, brought to you by Living in Colorado, the Mile High Perspective. My name is Charlie Sardelli, and as always, I am here with
Jamison Amoros, people.
Oscar Ibarra.
And we are the Mile High Perspective, just three Colorado real estate agents here to bring you, the consumer, quality information from the headlines, from the listing table, from the closing table, whatever you want to say.
Stories from the crypt, whatever you guys want.
However you want to put it. Dropping hot vocals every week.
Can't wait for our single to drop.
Should we say like the Mile High Perspective all at the same time?
Yeah, right.
Just kidding. We're not gonna do it.
We got everybody pose for the album cover. Guys, on today's episode, we want to cover something that if you are into the gig economy, or if you are into starting your own business and looking into passive income, like we talked about last week, something that you've probably seen is wholesaling, right? So we want to talk about wholesaling in real estate and kind of break it down for you, what it is, how it works, how it relates to sellers, and what it means for them in some instances. And then what we're going to do is actually break down a little scenario for you on wholesale with a price point on a home and kind of how it works going throughout.
And I mean, even if you haven't seen or heard, you haven't heard of wholesaling, I'm sure you've heard of it, but not in those terms. Wholesale. In other words, it's the get rich quick real estate. That's kind of what they're talking about. Wholesale.
Yeah, have you seen it? It's been big on TikTok, social media. Like I see them all the time where people are like, "Hey, take my class," and we hate real estate agents.
You guys
because
can
blah
bash
blah
it
blah blah blah. This
because,
is the easiest way.
I have a big group of good close friends and one family member that does wholesaling and investments. So
Hey, you know what?
I'm cool, guys.
Hey,
Fuck those guys. I'm just kidding.
we should have brought them onto the podcast.
No, they know
Had
their
a
wealth of
lively,
knowledge. One was my mentee.
Yeah.
My cousin.
It's definitely a way to make money.
He got into the industry. I taught him what I knew, and he listened to every single thing, and he took off. And then I helped him land his first investor. Man, that kid's killing it. He's on his four. I think he's doing four. He did a lot of wholesaling, and then grabbed some more investors, and now he's building out 4 units.
Yeah.
Yeah, from scratch.
Yeah.
New
Well,
construction.
and honestly, the reason that we want to talk about it with you guys today is because a lot of people get confused between wholesalers and real estate agents or realtors. Guys, just first off, do you need a real estate license to do wholesaling?
Nope.
Not for wholesaling.
Right. So a lot of the time, those people who are annoying you on phone calls asking about your home if you want to sell it, a lot of the time, those are actually wholesalers, not real estate agents.
Or dialers hired by wholesalers.
Yeah, exactly. And that's their whole kit and caboodle, a whole shebang on how they get their business. But before we dive into that anymore, guys, as you know, on this podcast, we don't just talk about real estate. We enjoy bourbon, the fine spirits, the better half of life, and hanging out. And today's bottle, Jamison swung by, picked up, and I think, what was it, a five-minute decision?
I don't know, man. It looks like I got lost and ended up in the wine section.
Right? Yeah. Especially with the wax
it gets
cap.
tough. You go there. We're like, try that. That's I don't know if I want to drink that.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know. This one.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I picked it because there was a horse on it.
Clearly.
And when you're betting, you want to back a horse, right?
Yeah.
I don't back wholesaling. I back realtors.
You know what? But bourbon,
Yes, Jameson.
bourbon from the country, from the South, Tennessee. The
Kentucky Derby,
Kentucky
baby.
Derby. I mean,
Exactly.
horses are very tied into bourbon,
Exactly.
too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I do like, I mean, just like you were talking about, the branding of the bottle. We talk about this regularly, but it plays into it, right? And if somebody is into horse racing, stuff like that, this would 100% catch their eye, I think. So, Jameson, you want to tell us a little bit about it while I pour it out?
Yeah, so it is a bourbon, obviously based out of Kentucky. And this one is a 101 proof, so it's a 52.
Really? I would have thought it was
Yeah,
less.
after the neck pour, I know. So that's why I was pleasantly surprised. It's won significant awards. Now, granted, some of these bourbon awards, I swear to God, they just kind of make up like they do like the top 100 influential real estate agents in Colorado magazine that you can buy into. Because some of these awards I've never heard of, but
How much did that designation cost?
yeah, exactly, right? $350 to say on the anyway. The interesting piece, you guys will notice, and if you're listening, the bottle is essentially a wine bottle and not your standard bourbon bottle that you would find at the store. The reason they do that is because, for the most part, American whiskeys are bottled and proofed according to a very specific flavor profile every single year in and year out, right? Pinhook does it based on the ages of the barrels instead. So they actually produce it based on vintage. So whenever the barrel itself hits a certain age, and then they bottle it
Kind of like wine.
So very similar to wine. Hence the wine lookalike.
That makes
right?
sense. Okay.
Booker's does the same bottling.
Yes.
They're in a wine
Yeah.
bottle.
So what we have is their flagship bourbon. I'd classify it as kind of the everyday bourbon. Like, I mean, this bottle was $39, so not terribly expensive.
Nice.
You can get it at most large liquor stores. The flavor profile is a little interesting. So to give you guys a breakdown, so the split is 75% corn, 15% rye, and then 10 malted barley.
Interesting.
Right. Which,
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
flavor profiles, the nose is butterscotch, apricots, graham cracker, which I can definitely see the graham cracker in the finish.
Okay.
And then transition to a palette of coffee, roasted peanuts, candied cinnamon,
Coffee roasted peanuts.
and creme brulee.
Creme brulee.
Creme brulee.
Got to get a little bit of creme fraiche.
I mean,
for this
you know,
one.
it's French.
I'm gonna
wine
have to
is French, and
call this dude out. I gotta taste it.
Yeah.
just saying.
Yeah.
It's not grass clippings. I will tell you that.
No, absolutely.
Well, I mean,
not.
what's really interesting about it is we've
I
had
can
some.
taste the apricots right away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
but
was solid.
We had some high rise in the past, and I mean, this is a high rye.
And it's
for-
very smooth.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I know.
very
just-
low weeded, and
Right.
very
Yeah.
low weeded is usually
Yeah.
spicy, burny. You know,
Well, I mean, and the reason I bring it up is because what was it? It was I can't
75%.
remember.
Man.
I can't remember which one it was, but it said 10% or 11% rye, and they considered it high rye.
Right.
This is, you said 15?
15.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anything over
Especially
10.
for the color.
Everything over 10 is
Especially
high
for the
rye.
color. For everybody who's listening at home, this is probably one of the lightest bourbons that we've had, I would say, in the last 3 months. And I don't know about you guys, but whenever I see a light bourbon, I kind of take a breath and a step back a little bit, only because it's, like you said, it's very surprising that this is vintage. Like, this is age.
What's
Aged at least 3 years.
okay?
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, we've had some 3 years that were darker than this. And I mean, I'm excited to kind of let it open and taste it throughout the episode, specifically because I feel like that's where the notes are going to come through, especially because of it is a little bit more dry, for at least from the next pour. But I'm excited for it. I'm going to go ahead and start swirling it around and stick my nose in it.
Oh, stick in the nose.
Oh yeah, I mean,
The nose is a lot sweeter than
yeah,
than the juice. So I could see the graham cracker caramel.
it's very the
fruity, though.
apricot is it's subtle,
Yep.
but it's there for sure.
Yeah, I'm getting the graham cracker on the nose. Oscar's over there taking a sip before we
Sip it
cheers.
away. He's just excited. Well, cheers, gentlemen. Cheers.
Cheers.
That's a recycled pork.
I haven't been consistent these last few episodes. I've been busy
right.
working, so
Let's
I
see.
forget the process. I thought you were gonna say, "Welcome to Pimp My Ride." Wrong show.
Well, I mean, compared to last week's bourbons too, this very clear.
Yes.
Very, very clear. I don't see almost
Any
anything.
particulates?
Almost
Yeah.
maybe a little bit, but nothing like it was.
No.
Oh man, I'm excited.
The front end is sweet.
Yeah.
It is sweet.
Let's see.
I'm more of a fruit apricot. Is it apricot or apricot? Would it tomato?
I say apricot.
Almonds.
That high rise is prevalent though.
Hey,
I don't know about
talk
you guys,
about
but
almonds over here.
I'm
I
just.
think
take
it
it
balances well. I
Take
mean,
it easy.
it's interesting.
The heat on it is interesting. It's
Yeah.
almost like Oscar was saying. You definitely get hit with the sweetness, but then the heat kind of just plows right through afterwards. Would you guys say?
Yeah.
It?
Yeah, because I can still feel the heat on my tongue
Yes.
after the sip. It
Feel
sits.
it down here.
Yeah.
It sits.
Compared to what we had last week and the week before, this one definitely reminds me more of a less complex build. The flavors are there, but again, it's very punchy.
It's not it's not an orchestra.
Yes.
It's
It doesn't
not a-
it doesn't
it's not
give
a
you the crescendo.
crescendo.
Yep. Hey, well.
Hey, it's no crescendo.
All right, Oscar,
more
give
of
us,
like
give us your
Metallica.
flavor notes. We got to make this a whole corner, like
It
Oscar's
is.
flavor corner.
It's a summary, not a book.
Yep.
It hits you, gives you what you need.
Cliff
and
notes,
it's-
baby.
It's Cliff Notes.
It's Wikipedia.
100%. So it's gets to a point, and then it's done, and it's burny. I get apricots is all I can get. On the nose, it is graham cracker.
Yeah.
It's a sweeter. It's not as what's the word? Spice or just bitter spice that I think it'd be because it's high corn. Like whiskeys are just, they're going to smack you in the face.
Yeah.
You know, bourbons have a little more complexity. This, I thought it was going to be more like that, but it's pretty smooth for what it is.
Yeah.
It's really smooth for the mash bill. I think it's smooth. It's good.
And I will say once the burn does subside in your throat, I do get that sweetness. The caramel and the graham cracker does come through. Just takes a little bit longer than we're used to.
Maybe I'm eating the wrong graham crackers.
Well, I think
it's more like saltines. I don't know.
Well, I think it's because I had the almonds before we started, the nut medley before we started, which is kind of adding to that more of the sweetness. But
yeah, that's fair.
I mean, yeah, I'm excited to let it sit and sip it through, see how it goes.
Oh, I forgot to bring the swirler. Remember?
Oh yeah, you have the coffee.
Yeah.
Try it.
We gotta make that a separate.
We gotta grab one that's borderline. You know, it's like let it open up. It tastes better as you go. Buy one of those and just
like a gentleman jack,
then,
maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just figure if you want to try it, like oxidize the shit out of it and see what happens.
So, quick side note story. We were at one of those Christmas shops. They're kind of like, they sell a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
At the merchandise mart. And they had these little oak barrels, these little tiny things that are charred inside. And I thought they were cool because they have cool logos and whatnot. And the woman selling them said, they're cool, but you pour whiskey in here. Said with this, you pour in regular Jack Daniels, you let it sit for 30 days, and the flavor profile will be Gentleman's Jack.
Interesting.
I want to call bullshit, but that's maybe something we try. I mean, if anybody out there has tried it, let us know.
Yeah.
I mean, so you said you put the bourbon into it and then
and just let it sit. You let it age for like 30 days to 2 months.
Okay.
And it becomes something better.
Huh. It sounds a lot like that the bourbon that we have with the wood stick in it.
Oh yeah.
Kind of the idea behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and dive into the topic today. Wholesaling in real estate. What is it? What does it mean? We see it. You hear about it, especially if you're looking at real estate. So who wants to break it down a little bit?
It's pretty simple, right? It's when you buy a house from Costco. Is that not?
Right. And it's
pretty much.
It's a fine line from a real estate standpoint. When you pick up a listing, a pocket listing, nobody knows. You're not supposed to promote or market or let anybody see it before the general public. It's a rule. We need to abide by what our sellers want. If our sellers already has a buyer, we could sell it. It doesn't go on the MLS. And then now that's why they do the MLS. Was this a sale that's already done? It's just for, you want to put your properties on the MLS because it's data, right? So the seller has the final say. Us, we can't, promote it to our investors before the rest of the public. And the thought behind that is, are we selling our sellers short? And that's where it ties into wholesaling. Are we selling the sellers short? Because wholesaling is, a wholesaler will come in, pick up your property for $100,000 right now, cash, do it fast, and then he's going to go and make $20,000 and sell it again to the general public, or maybe lipstick it and then remodel it or whatever.
Yeah, it's selling paper, right? So essentially, what you can do, and this is the crazy part, and what Oscar was alluding to, is you can do it without a real estate license, right? You can go online, you can find a agreement to purchase real estate contract, fill it out with a purchase price, give it to a seller, say, hey, I know your house is worth X amount. I'm going to offer you this amount. Seller agrees. You're technically under contract, right? So now you have, let's say it's a 30-day close. Now you have 30 days as a wholesaler to take that piece of paper, sell it to an investor and say, hey, I'm going to charge you essentially a finder's fee. This is a house that may need some work, lipstick, whatever it is, but I bought it for $200,000. I'm going to sell you the title. I'm going to sign the title to you for $230,000. And then the seller and the investor go to close. And then that $30,000 difference, you pocket as a wholesaler, and you make that as a profit.
Yep. So that's kind of like a quick overview breakdown of overall just what wholesaling is, and basically like Jamison said, is it's selling paper. That's kind of how it's known in the industry, to basically cut the middleman out, make it a quicker transaction, and
not even cut the middleman, just replace the middleman.
Well, and three things, because when I hear wholesaling in a scenario, my manager broker, red flags start going up.
Yep.
What is this? What are the dangers behind this? Because real estate, you could get a heavily slapped fine, even jail time. fraudulent stuff,
Yeah.
bad practice. You know, we're governed by the commission and the board as a realtor. So one, you don't need a license. For sale by owner is a good example. You can sell your own house. For sale by owner, that's a good example. Two, got to watch out for double closings. Say Jamison is selling a house, and I go in and I said, look, I'm going to put it under contract. I'm going to go ahead and it's going to tie into two subjects that I want to talk about. I'm going to offer $200,000 for the house. I got 30 days. Usually when an investor buys a property, it's fast. That's the appealing part, right? 10 to 15 days, let's get it closed, get it done. It's cash, no appraisal, no nothing. So I'm going to give myself 30 days to turn around, put it on contract, do my due diligence, and say, okay, ARV is after remodel value. I'm going to do that, go over to Charlie, he's the investor, and tell him, hey, Charlie, I got this property, the finder's fee. I'm going to sell it to you for $210,000, $215,000. I'm going to make $15,000 on it. But the ARV is going to be $300,000. So it's licking his chops because, you know, whatever the costs after, if you do the scope of work right, you're going to make another $30,000 or $40,000 in 30 days, right? So a lot of people, where they got in trouble with this is that he agrees to it. I assign it over to him, but I close him first. I close him first, get the money, use that money to pay you on the same day. That's a double closing. You're not supposed to. I don't own the property. I can't legally sell it to you.
Yes.
And that's what was going on a lot during 2009, all that era, that people were getting his money, closing on it, conveying title, and then closing on this with cash and then making my profit.
Right.
So no money was transferred,
Right.
only my money that I gained and your money that you provided and your money that you made from it. And then assignability. Assignability is another thing. If I'm coming in and saying, I'm going to buy your property, do it under an LLC, then I turn around and assign it to him. So the contract is now his under the same LLC, but I sell him the LLC. So that also was a realm of watch what you're doing because that's fraudulent.
Yeah.
I can't sell a property that's not mine.
Well, and Oscar, you bring up a great point, right? And one reason why, you know, again, we do this show for you guys, the consumer, the listener, person at home, kind of just to break it down. But Oscar, the point that you made was they're going to buy it and then turn it around and market it. Hey, you can build this up and probably make this much on it, right? So a lot of the time, the experience that people have with wholesalers, with these dialings, the dialer companies, the phone calls that they get, is they're going to position it like, hey, you know, you have a good amount of equity in your house. I'm going to give you this amount for it, and you're going to make a killing on it. But again, what ends up happening a lot of the time is they're lowballing you, specifically for the reason that Oscar said. Is that, do you think that I'm, as an investor, I'm going to buy a property and make $5,000 to $10,000 on it?
Or take a loss?
Yeah, or take a loss. Exactly. They're not going to do that. So the only way that wholesalers can truly, truly make a good amount of money is to lowball offer and make sure that whoever they sell it to can make money on the back end.
Right.
Because that's how they get their money.
And
right?
the last 7 years was a time where they could roll the dice and win. Why? Because let's take a big corporate wholesaler, quote unquote, Open Door.
Yep.
Open Door was playing the market and playing equity that was going to be gained month over end, not just year over end. So there were you have a property on the market, let's say $300,000. I come in and offer you $300,000, hold it for a few months because I know we're going to go up 10% month over end, and then I'm going to make a profit. So they were doing a lot of that. Open Door had a great business plan during that time. And they're not so much a wholesaler, but they were playing the wholesale game because they turn around, paint it or whatever they need to do, and then make the profit, and they were banking on the market. Now that the market is not doing that, no more Open Door.
Well, and then also, again, phenomenal point that you bring up is wholesalers have the ability to say, oh, you know how those real estate agents take a commission? Wholesalers have a great opportunity to say to you, I'll do this for 1%. Right, and that's like
or finder's fee.
No,
or finder's fee.
No, so they don't do it for 8%.
Well, no, but I mean, the reason I say the 1% is because that's what Open Door was doing.
Correct.
Right? They were saying, "Hey,"
yes.
And then
Yeah.
their value proposition is convenience. They're not going to go through the whole spiel of appraisals or whatnot. They're just going to offer you the cash because they've already built in all their fees, and they're going to go ahead and. So, I lost my train of thought. Convenience of time.
Yes.
Right? You don't have to stay on the market for 15, 30, 45 days. I'm going to go ahead and give you the cash now so you can move on to your next house. If it works and they're giving you market value all day, but they had smaller margins because they're doing it at a grander scale.
Yes.
Your everyday wholesaler needs bigger margins because it's every deal that they do. They don't have thousands of deals because Open Door had how many, Statman? They had tons of houses here. Tons.
Well, no, I think Open Door is playing a different game overall. They were trying to reset comps.
Yeah.
Right. To make
But
a
they had
profit,
a ton of houses that got, right?
Yes.
So they were doing it at a bigger scale so they could take the smaller margins, and then they lost their ass off.
And they lost on a bigger scale to the tune of what? Oh my God, it was almost
millions.
Yeah, it was almost $1 billion loss by the time they were done.
And I always said, because I Open Door did offer to pick up one of my listings before I listed it, and my seller needed to sell fast, and they were going to offer her like $500,000, $550,000 cash in Legacy Ridge.
Yep.
And at the time, the prices weren't going up, and I called her and I said, "You can do that. Go for it. If you think that's what you need, I'm not going to get in the way, but know that my comps state that I could get you $150,000 more than what they're offering." With that phone call, she called me up. She said, "List it. You got 45 days." I did it in 30, and I got her $150,000 more. That's the margin that they were playing.
Yeah, exactly. Great, 150 grand, right? And that's another good bit that I do want to point out. Like, guys, the way that we're going to talk about wholesaling, we're going to break it down for you again. And it may sound like we're making it a bad thing, but another thing that I want to point out is, to Oscar's point, if you need to get out, if you need and you don't have the time, wholesaling is a good option for you. You could still benefit. You could still make some money on it. But the whole reason that we want to do this is to shed light on it, so it gives you a better understanding of how it's going and how it works, and the benefits, pros, kind of little pros and cons, right? So now that we know kind of what wholesaling is and as a whole, and some of the pitfalls and stuff like that, I want to talk about how it kind of works ultimately. We broke it down and say, oh, they're going to sell, they go low, sell high, whatever it is, but let's talk about, as if I am a wholesaler, right? We already talked about dialers. So how does a wholesaler find their client?
You can do it a bunch of different ways, right? One of the more common is driving for dollars, is what they call it. So essentially, you drive through a neighborhood and you try and find the most rundown house in that neighborhood. You knock on the door. You send them a mailer, a flyer, whatever. Hey, if you want to get out of the house, maybe they're under a ton of debt, maybe there's liens, whatever it is, we'll go ahead and purchase it from you, and we'll close quick and whatever. You can look at they'll look at tax delinquent lists, right? And they'll say, okay, this person's behind on taxes or utility bills or HOAs, like we keep talking about HOAs. The goal is to find either distressed properties
or distressed
sellers, or the best case scenario, distressed both.
Yes.
Right? But in order to do that, you need to have cold callers. You need to have reverse prospecting. You have to do skip tracing, which skip tracing essentially is, hey, I have this address. I don't know the homeowner's phone number. I'm going to pay a company to skip trace it to give me that phone number so I can then call them and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, I'd love to buy your house from you.
Yep.
I'd make you an offer today. It's going to be blah, 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 right? So there's a bunch of different ways for them to get clients. Most of them aren't referrals, right?
Or they hit us up.
Or they hit us up and they say, I get probably 8 text messages a day. Hey, Jameson,
I'm
looking for distressed properties off market in the Denver market area. I'm looking for my next fix and flip.
And you could build a business off of it.
Yeah,
because it's public records, right?
Yeah, and I think that's why we wanted to talk about it, because last week, right, we talked about real estate is a passive income stream.
Yep.
And with the advent of social media, we see all the time wholesalers advertising to teach other people how to wholesale, which I think is ironically hilarious.
I caught a guy going live on TikTok, and he's just sitting in his office. He's like, guys, I got 5 years in the wholesale business. I made over $50,000 in the last 2 months.
Is it the dude named Dalton with the yellow teeth?
No.
Is that motherfucker? If I ever meet him in person,
And again,
I will give him a free visit.
I threw out the caveat that I know a lot of wholesalers. The guys that I know, they're doing it right, man. They do a lot of business.
Yeah, and there's
these guys are making a ton of business. Yes. But again, for example, if I have a property coming up, I know it's going to be hard to market. It's going to be hard. I call them up. I say, hey, let's go do a scope of work. And it's got to go live. My seller's not going to just sell it to you. So they go do the scope of work and they say, yeah, it'll work. If you don't get any showings or anything, I'll take it for this, and I'd sell it to my seller. Turn around, and it's no bullshit.
Yep.
It's money.
Yeah.
10 days, they get out and they're done.
Yeah.
And when marketing for wholesales, another thing, guys, you got to understand, it's public records. If you are defaulting on your mortgage, it's called the NED list, the Notice of Election and Demand. So they're going to send you out a letter and say, hey, you're defaulting on your mortgage. It could be 1 month. It's not in their best interest to do it the first month, but they can foreclose within a month. So they're going to send you some letter and say, hey, you need to pay up. You need to pay up. It's usually 3 months after that. But during that time, they announce it to title companies. We get the list from the title companies, and we have a list of people that are in default. It could be a month. It could be more. Then we reach out to them and say, hey, if you're in distress, if your house is unmarketable or whatever the case may be, you don't have the time, let me come in, give you some cash, move out of the house, we'll make you whole. That's another way to get wholesale properties.
Yep. Absolutely. So once they find the properties,
I should charge for that, by the way.
I was going to say,
I don't need TikTok.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you were on TikTok Live, you would have had followers and likes going crazy on that one.
I get lists all the time.
So now they took a look at the list. They found a distressed property. And guys, just as an example, one thing that I want to lay out as a distressed property, because a lot of the time we don't, as consumers, as normal, homeowners, we don't really think about these things, but it's by distressed property. Some things that people look at is, as they're driving by, what does the front door look like? What do the windows look like? What is the siding? Like, basically, does it from the outside, does your home look like you can afford to upkeep it?
Well, you can also look at absentee owners.
Yeah.
Right? So out-of-state landlords that maybe can't rent their house because it's in disrepair, and you can get that list too.
And I got a phone call the other day from a friend of a friend that we met at a party that owns a house in our neighborhood, and the house next door is a rental. The rain that we got the other day, I mean, I'm doing a new roof, and my car that's outside got dinged up. I mean, it was bad, right? Damn. Erosion into their yard, and they need a fence put up. And the fence isn't up, and they were going to see if they want to split the cost. On top of that, their landscaping got screwed up because of a lot of stuff they're doing, and there's nobody renting it right now. Yep. So they asked me to go online to see who it was. So I pulled it up. It's an LLC, which is in San Francisco, and that LLC has you have to have a registered agent in the state. The registered agent is another business that does registered agents for other LLCs, so they couldn't get a hold of them. So we got to the bottom of it, and this is the best bet. That's another it doesn't have to be distressed, and it doesn't have to be older.
No, distress can mean a lot of things. A lot of times when you guys think of distress, you think physically distressed, right? Poor upkeep, damaged roof, overgrown siding, lawn, whatever, right? Foundational issues. But when we talk distress, especially when it comes to wholesaling, we really mean financially. Yeah. Because that's what it's going to be.
That's the biggest one.
Normally, if you have a financially distressed residence, it will manifest itself physically in the upkeep of the house. But when we talk about financial distress, we talk financial because those are the people that are going to be the most motivated to just get out and find the quickest solution that at least gets their head above water and out into the next thing, like Oscar said earlier.
Or they don't want the neighbors to find out.
Correct.
You know what? I'm behind on my mortgage. I don't want my neighbors to find out. I don't want to sign in front of my house. I just want to sell.
Which is why you
out.
never keep up with the Joneses, people.
That's
no.
Because the Joneses are fucking liars.
Screw those Joneses. You just do you, man. Nobody cares.
You know the average car payment in the United States right now?
$480.
No, it's almost $700.
Are you kidding me?
Almost $700 for the average car payment.
That's disgusting.
That's keeping up with the Joneses.
Sorry. Yeah, no.
Oh, I'm not saying. Hey, I'm saying that. Listen, hey, he's shrinking over here. I'm saying that knowing full well I got a $515 a month car payment and a $694 a month car payment.
And you know what? My car's not even the more expensive one.
Yeah,
I put a hefty ass down payment on.
I'm part of the
my
problem.
wife's car is the one that I'm paying a lot on.
But at the same time, it's not like you guys are working part time and doing those decisions.
What's funny is that we were having
I got my only homes up and running.
we were having this conversation last night because we were talking about electric cars, right?
Yeah.
I had to Uber from somewhere, and my Uber driver had a Tesla, and I was like, I would love
Uber driving in a Tesla. I love it.
I would
can
love
rent 'em.
an electric car. Shelby just got an electric car too.
What'd he get?
He got a Tesla.
That I'm gonna kill him.
So
I thought
I've been
that
thinking
truck looked
about
familiar
it.
when you took that picture of him driving to King's Deer.
Right. I was thinking about it, and I said, you know what? I would love a Rivian. They're expensive.
Charles has a Lucid Air on order.
They're awesome. The trucks or the SUVs, they're awesome. I would love an SUV or a truck. It doesn't matter. And I was like, man, they're up there in price. I could sell my car. I could sell my wife's car. I could drive my old car that's still great, still presentable. And my wife's like, yeah, but our payment's going to be this much. And I said, check this out. Between both of our car payments, it's almost as much as what we're going to pay for the Rivian. But then the Rivian saves us in gas. Every time I fill my wife's car up, it's $117. And I do it at least 3 to 4 times a month. That's $400. And then there's my car that I fill up about 4 or 5 times a month, and it's $70 every time. I am saving $800 a month if I were to buy a Rivian. And I do have to get rid of 2 cars though.
But and here's the thing though, if you don't keep track of those things like we're talking about right now, you could end up on the upside down part of the mortgage, right? And you could become that distressed homeowner. So after they find you the distressed homeowner or a distressed homeowner, then their next step is to get in a conversation with you and start talking money, right? Start talking what they can do for you. So basically, once they find that, they're going to give you a call. They're going to reach out and say, "Hey, my name is Joe Blow. I'm a wholesaler here in the area." Maybe they might not say it like that, but I would love
to get a phone call and say, "My name is Joe Blow." I'd be like, "Dude, I don't care what you're selling. I want it."
What was it last week? You were like, "You from the South?" I was like, "Yes, I am." But from there, that's when they start talking numbers, right? And something that I do want to make a note of is they've already looked by the time that they've called you, right? So, and what I mean by that is there's nothing that you're going to tell them, like Oscar was saying, that's public knowledge that you haven't defaulted on your mortgage, that they don't already know. So they've positioned themselves to have this phone call with you to make it sound like the best deal possible, as they should.
And what I was alluding with my scenario is that, and this podcast is based on, is knowledge, because it could be a horrible thing, or it could be a good thing, or it could be a really bad thing, and they're gonna take advantage of it. Us as realtors, we're governed by the commission. The Department of Regulatory Agencies governs us to not screw the public or malpractice, right? So it could be a good thing that you need to get out. You need to get out, and you have foundational issues. You're not going to spend $50K to do them, so it makes sense.
Yes.
It can make sense, and it could be a really good thing. But that's why, again, you hire someone like us and give you the scenario. Let's wholesale it, because you're not going to spend this money to do it. We put it on the market. You're not going to get that anyway, and it's the margin and the time sucks.
Yep.
But we get a wholesale in there. I'll take it. Yep. I'll take it, and it's going to make sense for the consumer all day long. So there is scenarios that will work. But like Charlie said, by the time a wholesaler identifies a property, they've done their due diligence, and they're going to position themselves to win.
Yes, absolutely. Because that's, like we said earlier, that's the whole point of the wholesaling business.
No investor is gonna tank their investment.
Absolutely. Jamison, you got something cooking over there. What you looking at?
No, I was the follow up to what you're talking about is, in a normal real estate transaction, there's 4 parties, right? There's buyer, seller, buyer's agent, listing agent. And of those 4 parties, each side is equally represented, right? And each equal representation has a fiduciary duty to only that side, right? So listing agent to the seller, buyer's agent to the buyer. Oscar alluded to this earlier. The reason it's important is because in this scenario, right, if you don't have an agent representing you on the seller side,
so for the listeners at home that don't know, what does fiduciary duty mean?
Fiduciary duty just means that they are standards that we are held to by a higher authority that we can then get punished, fined by if we do not hold up, right?
Yep.
By essentially
your best interest
is our best interest.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
And period.
This is dangerous in the wholesaling, and I don't want to say dangerous, right? I just assume everybody has ill intention.
It could be dangerous,
but
I don't want to go to jail. That's danger to me.
But as we talked about, right, a wholesaler is not licensed. Therefore, they're not regulated by any sort of committee, oversight, association, anything.
Now,
right?
if it goes to the courts, they will lose.
Correct.
But you have to take it to court.
And that costs money. And if you're already financially distressed, most likely you're not going to put that risk, right?
Kaboom.
So what ends up happening is they can write a contract. And if they do something that is, quote unquote, unsavory or in a gray area or takes advantage of a seller, nobody's there to hold them accountable. So you have to automatically assume that they are trying to get one past you. Yeah. So not only are you getting an offer under market value that is then being sold for a higher price, which in my logical brain, that means that my house is worth the $30,000 extra
Yeah, exactly.
right? But now if they go through an inspection, right? It says most of them will waive inspection, but they'll do a due diligence or a scope of work inspection.
They will
They
not
may start
just
asking,
go in blind.
Yep, their
unless it's an auction.
contracts are built specifically to shield them, which I'm going to bring up later. So essentially, as a seller, I look at it as you are 100% exposed, naked in a room full of 100 people trying to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
And you have no protection.
Absolutely.
Right? Now, is there people in scenarios that are in a dark enough place that they just need the cash to go? Sure.
Yeah, there's people that say, you know what, give me $100K, I don't care.
Right.
That's all I need, I'm out.
And you know what? That's cool. All I would tell you is, if you were in that scenario, talking to a trusted realtor to just say, I'm going to, and we talked about this as far as client relationships.
Because there's realtors that are like, hell yeah, because that's an easy sell.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But have the questions and say, like, here's my thing, right? Because I think, Oscar, that's a great point. There's a lot of realtors that go, yeah, absolutely, I'll represent you, no problem, right? It may not be in the buyer's or the seller's best interest to be represented by a real estate agent based on commission and closing costs.
Yes.
It just may not, right? Marketing terms, all that kind of stuff. So the goal would be, if you guys are going through this type of scenario, some of the things that you have to make sure you understand is, number one, what liens are on your property? How much do you actually owe? Right? Because if I sit there and you come to me and say, hey, Jamison, I'm in trouble. I got to list my house. I got these wholesalers that are banging down my door. I need to sell for like $200,000, right?
And again, how much does a title check cost?
Like an O&E?
$5.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
We will check that for
Right.
you.
We'll check it for you.
We'll get the liens.
But if it turns into something where it goes, hey, I have,
Payoffs.
in order to pay off everything, I need to make X amount. And if my services that I provide put you above and beyond that amount, then I'm going to tell you, you know what? Just go through the wholesaler.
Yep.
Not only that, there's debt that people don't know that sticks to your house.
Yep.
Correct.
They won't let you sell it because there's a lien on it.
Yep.
So it's important for you to pull
Well,
O&E,
we've talked about it a
ownership,
bunch of
and
times. What if it's a HOA? You have past due
HOA.
fees.
Everybody
thinks
it's a
utilities,
collection agency.
taxes, and
It's a judgment. It's
alimony,
child support.
Right.
They will follow
Yes.
you, and now you're like, oh, I only need $100,000. I don't care. Get the wholesale in there now. Oh my God, you did a deferment 5 years ago and you forgot about it, and that's $50K. Now you're upside down and you can't close on that thing.
All right, well, here, let's just go into this then. Just because Oscar just talked about
Well, I
it.
was going to say, so now they found you, they positioned themselves to buy the home, right? Now, after that, after you've discussed, and let's say you go ahead and you go, yep, I want to wholesale, I want to sell to you, I want to go, is at that point, is the seller, is the homeowner done?
No, I mean, the seller's got to sign the contract to buy and sell, right?
I mean, after they sign everything,
then yes.
they have to perform.
Yep.
There's very little outs for the seller because they're not going to do inspection. They're not going to do all this other stuff. I mean, if
it's cash, there's no appraisal.
Right. And if the investor defaults on day of closing, that's probably your only out.
Well, and the reason I bring that up is because...
Or you find an unethical, and then you contact the commission.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. That's why I wanted to bring it up before we kind of went into the breakdown of it a little bit, because that is why it can look so appealing. Is, hey guys, look, man, I'm gonna give you this. You're gonna make an extra $30K, $50K above. You'll be fine. You'll be clear. And guess what? On top of that, once we sign this, you're hands off. That's all you have to do. You just got to worry about moving out, right? And that sounds very, very good to somebody who has not consulted an agent or done E&O and looked up the things that they need to know. So like that's why I wanted to bookend it with that, because yes, the process can be fast, can be quick, but at the same time, that is the allure to sellers, to homeowners, to go with wholesalers and investors. One, you're getting cash straight up. You don't got to go through title, anything like that. Well, you know what I mean, as far as earnest and worrying about all that kind of stuff. But it's just cash, quick, good to go.
Earnest
and then
money
you're
will
done.
still be deposited, right?
Yes.
But that is the only remedy that the seller will have,
Yes.
is to get back earnest money if the buyer backs out.
Yes.
And
Right? The problem is there's just not a lot of deadlines because of how the contracts are constructed.
Most
Exactly.
of the investors that I know are pretty ethical. They're pretty straight up.
Correct.
Yep.
Yes.
We'll make you
Yeah,
whole.
yeah, yes.
Don't worry about it. We'll make you whole. I do need to make a profit, and they're upfront with it. I need to make this. If you're okay with this profit I'm going to make, I'll make it happen. I won't BS you. I'll close on time, and I'll do it with cash. I'm not going to bullshit you on inspection. That's what's cool about the guys that I know. All these guys.
And on top of that, but again, that's another nod. You've been in the industry for 18 years. You have these people in your 22? Yeah. Oh, you have those people in your back pocket, right? And again, it does not cost anything to talk to an agent. Oscar said earlier, hire an agent. It's really consulting with an agent at the end of the day, because if, let's say, somebody hooks up with Oscar and he's got 5 wholesale investors in his back pocket and he knows the knowledge of the market, as he said earlier, he's going to instruct you to go, hey, look, honestly, this is probably the best deal for you.
Yeah.
Right? So again, wholesaling looks good. It sounds good. It's quick. It's fast. But always, always, always consult a trusted real estate advisor, somebody who works in the market and that you trust, because they could, again, they might have wholesalers in their back pocket, up to 5 of them, that can beat out the other wholesaler that just called you randomly.
I've been in so many scenarios that I could sniff out, excuse my language, a shit deal from a mile away. Mm-hmm. You're going to get screwed. Let me make it right. I have some other guys that'll make you right with the same scenario. Mm-hmm. They're just going to make you whole.
Yep. So here's the thing I'll tell you, right? Let's say, if I'm a seller and let's say I'm either for sale by owner, so free information for you guys, even though my opinion on that, or you're somebody that gets approached by a wholesaler. Mm-hmm. How do you tell the difference between a wholesaler offer and somebody that's maybe a cash offer with a fix and flip? Great question, Jamison. Let me answer it. So
he sets up the shot.
You got 2 other people here. We could have asked.
Well,
you.
No, the only reason I say that,
it's an alley-oop.
Yeah,
it's usually just about Jamison.
The only reason I say that is because I have a contract pulled up.
Yep.
And there's a couple of things that if you guys are for sale by owners, or if you guys get approached by wholesalers and you get an offer, and the reason I bring this up is because, yes, you should consult an agent. However, if somebody were to come to me and say, hey, can you look over this contract for me and tell me if I should do it? Mm-hmm. Professionally, I would be hard-pressed to go, yeah, absolutely. Good luck. I review a contract. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So beforehand, 100%. Yeah. But if you have offers in your hand, there's really 2 or 3 things that I want you guys to look for that'll tell you whether or not you're dealing with a wholesaler or you're dealing with, just a cash investor who wants to fix and flip. Mm-hmm. The biggest one is a wholesaler contract will come with an addendum on a separate piece of paper that dictates what the wholesaling process is. And there's 2 big pieces on this contract that I want you guys to understand. I'll probably give you a screenshot so you can kind of see it, right? Yep.
Before you go on there, that's a great point. On the flip side, if you are someone that wants to make an investment deal, 100% an addendum or an attorney drawn up addendum that protects you, because disclosure is going to cover your ass.
Yes. Yep. So if you get a cash offer from an investor that's looking to fix and flip, it's going to be a standard real estate contract, right? With the cash, obviously you want to look through and make sure you're not getting screwed on additional provisions. But there's not going to be an extra addendum because a cash investor that wants to fix and flip doesn't need it.
Yep.
Wholesaler does. And there's 2 main things on here that you have to pay attention to. It's a dead giveaway. The first one is the purchase price addendum that basically makes you, the seller, responsible that whatever the offer is that you're accepting is enough to cover the liens, any potential liens on the property, any. And if it doesn't, you have to prove that you have enough cash to cover those liens at close. Straight up.
So basically, to break that down, what Jamison's saying is the wholesaler absolves themselves of any of your financial burden, and they don't care if you have to come up with another $50,000 that you don't know about.
Yep.
That's what that part of the contract does for them.
So they're forcing you to close if anything comes out on title that you didn't know about.
Yep. Here's another one. This is the investor disclosure.
Ooh.
Okay. This is the dead giveaway on any sort of wholesaling deal. And it states that a buyer is an investor and reserves the right to advertise, market, or resell the property at any time, including before and after closing, and for any price and terms in the buyer's sole discretion. That is a dead giveaway. If you see that on the addendum, you are dealing with a wholesaler.
They are marketing your property for a profit, and they need to disclose, I'm going to make a profit off of you before I buy your house.
Yep.
And you're going to be okay with it.
Yep. So with that being said, Jamison, I think that's a great kind of tie-in to our last little bit on.
Well, hold on. There's one.
Oh, there's more.
There's more.
Bring it.
There's one more. So this is the third. Again, I was going to give you guys 3.
Yeah.
Here's the third one. Unrestricted right to terminate at buyer's sole discretion. So in a normal real estate transaction, there are outs, right? And the buyer can only terminate up until really the latest date is the loan availability deadline for the most part, or the final walkthrough. For some reason, the property doesn't look like what it looked like when they initially went under contract, right? This allows the buyer, in this case the wholesaler, to terminate up until the day of closing for any reason. Any reason, he could say, well, it's cloudy today. I don't want to buy this property anymore. But the key of this is, oh no, where did it go? Anyway, the key is one of the reasons they can terminate is if they don't find a suitable investor to sell the property to before close.
Yep.
Right.
So basically what that means is the prior one that Jamison read where it says, hey, I have the right to market your property before closing. If it doesn't turn out well for them, they can just turn around and say, yeah, bye. I don't have to give you a reason. My reason is I saw mouse poop in the garage and I don't want to do this. Now, that means
buyer is unable to locate a concurrent purchaser for resale of the property, or the buyer determines the profit or margin, like Oscar said, is not in line with buyer's expectation, which means they give themselves the entire time you're under contract to sell that to somebody else. And if they can't, the day of closing comes up an hour before closing and go, hey, you know what? Sorry, we're backing out. And Oscar, you can do nothing.
Oscar, in your experience with your transactions, in that 30 days that you're waiting, that the buyers are waiting to close on a normal transaction, what's happening? Are they spending money? Are they moving around, getting rid of stuff? What's going on?
Well, for the seller, I typically tell them, look, if it's an investor or if it's a wholesaler, it's the same as a regular transaction. Let's wait. Let's wait till we get closer. Read the addendums. Double check everything. What's going on? When they have no outs, start shopping, start packing, start cleaning up the house.
But in like we were talking about, in a normal real estate transaction, it's more structured, right? So
Absolutely.
Hey, we've just gotten past this point, we're good to go. Versus, as Jamison said earlier, it could be day of closing, the day of 30. They've already started paying the movers. They've already gotten rid of furniture. They've already paid to repaint or whatever they need to do.
So what's a safety net with that? If I'm representing the seller is post-occupancy.
Yep. Right. Well,
they're not going to start packing their stuff until we close.
But again, that's if they're working with an agent, right? Normal in a lot of the wholesale situations, like we're talking about, that's it. It's the wholesaler and the seller. Right. So the reason I bring that up, right? Yeah, exactly. Sellers start to move out. They prepare to then be done. And with what Jamison just pointed out in the contract, you could have everything moved out. You could have your stuff halfway across the country.
Now you're more distressed.
Yep.
Because you don't got the money that you were banking that you were going to get.
Exactly. So that's just what I wanted to kind of tailor off to on that one with that, because that's something that needs to be thought about is they can back out at any time. So if you are in a wholesaling deal, please just remember that. Wait until day 30.
Well, the goal is to if you are selling your house by yourself, to determine if you are dealing with a wholesaler or not. Because in my experience, and Oscar, I don't know if you've experienced this, they don't outright say they're wholesalers.
No.
Right?
No.
So you have to read between the lines.
They make you think that they have money.
Exactly. And Oscar's going to talk about this in a second. But the goal would be to take the information we're giving you. If you see an addendum, if you see the things that were outlined, if you see that they don't give you any outs, you have to infer that they're a wholesaler, and then you have to adjust your expectations the same way based on who you're dealing with. But what Oscar just said, right? Wholesalers most of the time don't have money.
Yeah, you don't have to have cash to wholesale property. I could tie your house up and sell it to them, have another addendum saying, hey, I'm going to sell this to you for $10,000. Once that closes, or sell you my LLC, I just made my $10,000. Now it's up to you guys.
What about earnest money?
Same with earnest money. You roll it into the transaction.
Right. So that's another giveaway, right?
Yeah.
If they're going to offer on your house without earnest money, ask why.
Or minimum $1,000.
Ask why.
We're gonna tie it up with $1,000, but we're gonna come give you cash.
Ask why.
Most investors, here's $20,000. You got
Good
3 days to do my due diligence. I'm gonna hold you off the market for 3 days. If everything works out, we're closing on 15th. My earnest money goes hard. That means they can't back out. If they back out, their earnest money's gone, and that's $15,000.
That's a perfect example because the contract I pulled that I was reading out to you guys was from one of my properties I had listed, and I had three or four different offers. One was from a fix and flip, and they offered $15,000 in earnest money, hard after inspection. Right? The wholesaler
I see nothing
offered
wrong with that.
$1,000 and an addendum that basically said, we can tell you to fuck off whenever we damn well please.
Day of closing.
The difference was the wholesaler's offer was higher than the fix and flip. So I went through with the seller because I was representing her and showed her the differences. And after we broke it down, she goes, why in the hell would I ever accept that? I go, you're right. But if you're a for sale by owner, or if you're somebody that's not represented, you're just going to look at the dollar amount and go, yeah, this makes way more sense.
And as an agent, you have to represent. You
Exactly.
have to present everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. So let's go ahead and move into the final little portion that we have here with wholesaling, which is kind of just breaking down a wholesale deal in general. And what I mean by that is we just want to talk numbers, right? So Jamison, I think that you had kind of something planned out.
Yeah, basically it's the argument of like, okay, if I sell to a wholesaler and I'm not represented by a listing agent, I'm going to save money, right?
The whole idea behind why people do FSBOs, for sale by owners.
Exactly. And the very, very basic math is, let's say I've got a house that needs some work, right? But it's $400,000. We look at ARV, and maybe if you fix it up, it's like $450, whatever it is, right? If I'm an agent and I market that property well, right, have you come in and do some repair work on some big ticket items that are going to lift the property. Let's say at 6% commission on a $400,000 house, right? As a seller, you're going to lose, call it another percent for closing, $28,000, right? So you're going to sell your house for $400,000, $28,000 of those proceeds are going to go towards commission and closing costs.
Yep.
Right?
But with that agent, you get marketing, photos, E&O,
Correct.
all these safeguards, again, with an agent.
And
now,
knowledge, because a lot of those repairs are covered through insurance, including HOA special assessments, which nobody knows.
Yes.
As agents don't know.
They do now,
Your
thanks
special
to-
assessments can be covered by your HOA. Now your HOA is $300 more a month because you got to cover $3,000 or $5,000 because they did a special assessments to fix the stairs. Guess what? Your insurance can cover that, and you don't have to pay anything a month anymore.
And that's why you keep coming back, ladies and gentlemen.
And that's why you got to get a good agent.
Right? All right, so...
You think I don't have the money to fix this, but you don't need
Right.
the money. You just need a deductible.
Yep. So let's say you list for $400,000, you sell for $400,000, $28,000 after commission and closing costs. Your net's, call it $372,000, right? Now you take that same house, same condition, no commission, right? But like we talked about, because of very, very small margins, your wholesaler may come in and say, I'm going to give you cash 15-day close, and I'll give you $350. But you're out. That's all you need. And then we just talked about everything else, right? You're not paying commission. You're not doing anything else. Well, now that $400,000 house, you're selling for $350 versus $372. Right there, in its simplest terms, you just lost out on $22,000.
Well, Oscar said the example earlier that his seller would have missed out on $150,000.
$150K.
Right. You know what I mean? Like that.
She did give me a timeline. She's like, okay,
Yeah, but that's...
put your
I
money
think-
where your mouth is.
Yeah.
I'll give you 45 days.
I think that is a beautiful way to handle that
And I said, okay,
situation. Right?
bring
But
bring
in
it to
that
me.
scenario, so now let's say the scenario is the same, right? And let's say we just rework the math and you make $300, your net's $372,000 each way. For the same price, you get protection, liability protection. You get negotiation protection.
Yeah.
You get guidance all the way from the start to the finish of the transaction. You get somebody that you know, like, and trust the entire time that has knowledge such as covering special assessments
You
with
could
insurance
vent
money.
to
You could,
us.
yes, we can drink bourbon with you, whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, we're
If
a
you
little
make
bit
the
of a
same.
therapist at the same time.
Exactly, right? So the goal is, and again, I'm not saying use an agent, because I know for a fact, and I will come on here and admit it freely, there are scenarios where using a realtor may not make sense.
No,
That's okay,
and
right?
most realtors are worth a shit.
We'll tell you that.
Will tell you,
Yes.
we are your recourse.
Exactly.
If
Yep.
anything throughout the transaction goes south, sue me.
Right.
Malpractice, and I have insurance for it. I do not want any dings on my my insurance, my errors and omissions, but I am your recourse, and I tell
Correct.
that more so in new builds. I
Yes.
am your recourse, and if anything goes south, I got you.
And this is important to talk about because we talk about all the time, right? You have a distressed individual or a distressed house, whatever it is. The goal is, what is your financial outcome
Yes.
that you need?
And we are thinking clearly. We're a third party. We're a professional. We
We're
know
not
what
under
we're
the-
talking
yeah,
about.
we're not under
We're
duress
not under
of
the
collectors
gun.
or anything
We're
like
none of that. We are going to think clearly for you, because you are just, I need out. I don't care. And we're going to come in and say, I can still do the same thing and make you more money. And you're going to be taken care of, and it's going to be done right.
To you, it's emotional. To us, it's business.
Every transaction's emotional. When you're distressed, even more so. You're
Absolutely.
way more vested
Absolutely.
in the
Well-
emotional part of this transaction than anything else.
And-
You're getting ready to give away this property because you just want to do away with it.
Yeah.
You contact us. We'll say, I could still do away with it in the same amount of time. Don't screw yourself.
Well, and the other thing that I want to point out too is the scenario that Jamison talked about with the numbers that we're going over. don't forget, guys, there's equity, right? So like Jamison, that is as bare bones,
it's yours.
right? That is as bare bones as we can go with those numbers. But we're very lucky here in Colorado that we've seen in some areas 35% plus in equity growth over the last 3 years. There are places around the country that may not see that. And the reason that I bring that up is because a lot of the time, these wholesalers, as we've said already, they need to make money. So they are going to give you a lower amount. What if you've owned that property for 3 or 4 years and you've only gained 1% over those 3 to 4 years? That wholesaler does not care about the equity, the amount of money that you have in the home. They just want to get the home,
Correct.
right? So where, yes, your real estate agent would take a commission. And again, I know we're harping on it, but they're there for you. They are legally obligated to benefit you to the greatest outcome possible. Versus that wholesaler can come in and go, yeah, looks like you bought this house 4 years ago for $400,000 and now it's worth $402,000. So I need to make some money on it. I'm going to offer you $350,000. And guess what? Bet you money you're still going to have to cover that.
And they're
going
to sell it to you.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
And
So
again,
are you going to pay someone a commission to have your best interest? Your best interest. We get screwed if we don't. Or a wholesaler that's going to make a profit, which is the same thing as a commission, that I don't give a shit if I screw you.
Exactly.
What
Exactly.
what side of the coin do you want to be on?
It's the irony of this entire thing is I have a wholesaler that is selling the title to your house for $30,000, $20,000, call it on average 7 to 10% more.
Yes.
Than what they purchased it for, right?
Let's
7
give
to
it-
10%.
let's talk about $5,000. Who
There's
cares?
But there's somebody that is buying that contract on a let's say you sell it for $200,000. There's somebody that's buying that contract for $230,000. Okay,
Yep.
which means there's somebody that thinks your house is worth $230,000.
Exactly.
Which means on the open market, there is a potential that you get more than $230,000 just by using an agent, and your net will be more. I get it. There are scenarios where you have to be out in 14 days. You don't want to hassle with anything. You just want this done, wipe your hands and clean and go. But to Oscar's point,
Yep.
you're going to pay commission one way or another. You just don't know it yet.
Whether it's
'Cause
called
one
a
of it-
commission or a profit.
One of it is unrealized commission.
Yes.
Because you're just saying, well, I sold my house for $200,000 to this guy. Well, that guy just went ahead and resold it for $230,000 in 30 days, which means there's the demand for your house at $230,000.
And thank you. Thank you for just saying that, though. Again, we talk about it, we harp on it. Supply and demand, right, guys? So as of right now, in the United States current market, we are seeing the lowest inventory levels ever. That's one of the leading factors to what's going on in our market right now. So with everything that we just told you, if there's low inventory, and that means that there's more buyers that are willing to buy your home, do you think that going with a wholesaler in this market is the most beneficial thing for your pocket? No.
Maybe not.
Well, as just laid out,
Yeah.
probably not, right?
I mean,
because
case
at the
by
end of the
case,
day,
but be informed.
yes, exactly. But by the end of the day,
Be able to make an educated decision.
Yes. And the reason I bring it up is because with those numbers and the way that the market is, wholesalers do a lot better when there's more inventory because your houses are sitting. Now, in this current market, a house goes on and it may take a little bit longer based on price point, but there are buyers. There are people who are willing to buy the home. And as Jamison stated, market value of your home is higher strictly because inventory is lower. So just consider that when you're thinking about the wholesale. And again, if you need to do it, do it. We're not taking that away from you. We're not beating you up on it.
No.
If you need to do it, do it.
With that said, sorry, the wholesaler guys that I know, but I have investors that have millions, hedge funds, whatever the hell. They'll make you whole.
Yep.
You don't need a wholesaler. Wholesaler is just going to, it's the finder's fee, right? That's kind of where wholesalers, that's their niche, the finder's fee. Because they're going to turn around and sell it to an investor. I have investors with deep pockets. They'll make you whole.
Yep.
They don't have to have this margin. As long as they have this, they're good. They keep their workers working. They make a little bit of profit. Their business model works, and they keep going. They'll make you whole. If you're going to sell and you're just like, I just want it away, we have investors. We have investors that'll take care of you. We need, as agents, I don't care if they're my best friend, the investor, I still have to look after your best interests.
Yep.
They'll make you whole, make sure you're educated on how they're making you whole, and you're done. Or get the phone call from the wholesaler. He's going to make a profit off you, and then the investor's going to make a profit off you, and you just lost thousands of dollars.
Yep. And
Every dollar counts.
I honestly, I can't wait. I can't wait for the comments on this one, especially
Bring
when
it.
you
know what?
when you chop it up.
Stop chopping him up. Bring him to me.
Well, no,
I'll find out where you live.
I'm excited only because what's funny to me is I have not seen a timid wholesaler. And you know what I mean? Like but again, it's the nature of that business, right? So I'm excited to chop this up and put it out into the ether sphere and see what comes back.
Oh, and a wholesaler doesn't have to be one dude.
Oh yeah.
I had a wholesale company call me on one of my current listings. They are 100% a wholesaler. I told them no, it didn't work, and their dialer sold me on it and said, we will provide one payment, cash, let's go. I said, okay, if they don't, I'm going to be pissed because I don't care if I'm wasting 1, 2, 3 minutes on you. That's 1, 2, 3 minutes I could have been spending with my family or golfing or something I'd like to do. Don't do
Especially
it.
with those new clubs.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
The contract I read examples from for you guys is United Colorado LLC.
Mine's Up Equity. Up Equity.
Yep.
They called me. I got on a Zoom call. I was like, if you're an
Elevated
investor,
Real Estate LLC. That's another one.
if you're an
Northwestern
investor,
Investments
you're
is
not
another
going to
one.
want to be on Zoom with me. You're just going to submit the offer, accept it or
Yeah.
not. I knew that was coming. I played the
Entertain
whole
it.
I played the whole pissed off part. I knew what was coming.
Right.
Got on the Zoom call. Didn't show his face. Kept his face blank. I was like, all right, check one. I know
Red
where this
flag
is
number
going.
one.
I let him go for 2 minutes because I didn't want to spend more than 5. Let him go for 2 minutes. I said, first of all, one, that doesn't work for my sellers. It won't even cover the lien on their property, not their mortgage. So stop there. He goes, yeah, but we need to go through it. I said, okay. Second of all, your guy told me that it was going to be one payment, not 2 installments. So you're wholesaling this property. You're going to find someone to buy this property from you. We're ending this conversation now before I get nasty because I don't know you. You are somewhere in Texas, and I will cuss the shit out of you right now. So
again,
it's in your best interest to
Fiduciary
stop.
duties to the client.
My client didn't even know about it. I haven't told him.
Yeah.
That's the conversation I had.
Right.
I called him and I said, yeah, I had a wholesaler come in. It wasn't in your best interest. This is what they offered. They laughed at it and they said, sorry they wasted your time. I said, no, they only wasted 2 minutes.
Right.
It's fine.
Oh, hell of an episode, gentlemen. Hell of an episode. Wonderful conversation. I think it's a good time to move into our One Rock takeaways. I went first last week, so I'm gonna step back on this one. Let one of you guys take it.
I'll take it. If you're for sale by owner or not working with an agent, pay attention to the addendums. That will be the dead giveaway on who you're dealing with, and then you can make a decision from there.
I'm gonna add on to that whole for sale by owner. Sometimes it does make sense to do a for sale by owner. Trust me, it's not the most complex thing to do. It is time management, and it's legal. If you're okay with potentially going into court because something went south or finding out that you got screwed, by all means, for sale by owner all day long. But it's our best interest to make sure you are a winner. My motto is a win-win on both sides, right? Because I like a smooth transaction. But at the end of the day, I'm a freaking bulldog when it comes down to the transaction. I'm going to make sure you win. I don't care what happens on the other side. Sounds heartless, but that's not what I'm hired for. So definitely consult with the realtor before you go for sale by owner. Now, on the flip side of that, even if you go on the open market, if you're distressed, definitely talk to your real estate agent because they're going to tell you, you may not be that distressed. You may be.
Well, not only talk to them, be 1,000%
transparent. Yes.
Vulnerability.
Let us know. I don't care if you
I
have
can't deal with things if I don't understand.
Right.
The whole picture.
I don't care if you have $1 million trust account.
Right.
If you tell me about it, I'm going to tell you, well, you need to protect that because this is how it can affect that.
And I don't care if you've got 6 alimonies for 7 different baby mamas or daddies.
Absolutely not.
I don't
Look at
care.
you,
It doesn't
Nick
matter.
My
to
job
me.
is not to judge you.
It doesn't matter.
My job is not to judge you or your situation. My job is to make sure that you come up unscathed and on top of your situation.
Yep.
That's what I'm hired for. And anybody can do an easy real estate transaction. Anybody. A monkey could freaking do it.
Yep.
But we earn our money, we earn our pay, and our value comes when things hit the fan, and I make sure that you came out on top.
Oh,
It
Oscar,
only
that's
happens
perfect.
like at least on average 3 times a transaction.
At least.
It's a perfect lead-in. I like how I've positioned myself with my One Rock takeaways as the hippie and the human element. But my One Rock takeaway for this is, guys, create systems for your anxiety and your stresses. Because if you get into a distressed situation, whether it be your mortgage or whatever it is your mental ability to process that and deal with your stress and anxiety that will help you slow down enough to recognize certain addendums in a contract or recognize, hey, I might be able to make a little bit more from this transaction. So my one rock takeaway is do what you can for yourself to learn how to calm yourself down and not just jump at the highest dollar amount, because at the end of the day, it's the highest dollar amount isn't always the best option.
The real estate transaction is emotional as it is. When you're distressed, to add on what Charlie, he hit it on the dollar, you're super emotionally vested now in a bad way. And let us come in, see it from an outside point of view, from a professional point of view, and say, hey, you're freaking out, calm down, let me handle it. You just take care of your mental health. I will make you that money. I will get it sold so you could go ahead and there's more that you need to do. Move out, plan your life after that. Let us take care of this first.
I just pictured in my head the Three Stooges. Mo is like freaking out, and then Curly comes up and just smacks him in the face. Snap out of it. You know, like that's what real estate agents, realtors can provide for you, is a steady mentality and psyche to help you work through these things. But like
even
I
if
said,
you don't use us, just know that you
just you have
calm
options.
down, breathe, and really figure out your situation. It might not be as bad as you think, or it might be worse. I don't know. We'll figure that out.
Depends on how many baby daddies and mommies.
Yeah, I mean, hell.
Who knows? I mean,
I'm gonna be like, hey,
Nick
are
Cannon
you
and
sure there's
Elon
only
Musk are gonna
6?
repopulate
He's
the
like, you know
planet.
what? There might be 7. All right, let's dig into that.
Same with Philip Rivers. Apparently.
Yeah, right. What is he on 9, 10?
11.
now? 11.
Shaq.
Yeah.
Shaq has like.
Wilt,
11
I think
kids
Wilt
too.
Chamberlain slept with like 5,000 women or
Oh
something
yeah,
like that.
he holds a record or something.
Yeah,
crazy.
can you imagine him trying to?
His
This
NBA
sounds-
records are nothing compared to his women's
This sounds
records.
like a perfect conversation for the Bourbon Review.
Baby's mama, I need a drink.
Right. So guys, I think this is a good bourbon to accompany the conversation for sure, because we talk about how much that plays into it. I want to hear from you guys about your thoughts throughout the episode on it. I'm interested.
You know, the bourbon kind of textured its way through the episode. I could now taste some more sweet, sugary, caramely vanilla as I didn't
I was going to
drink
say
it.
the same thing.
As I didn't drink it, as it just hung out, the flavoring. It's a little more complex than I thought initially, but it's after the fact that I drink it that it did. So it's just kind of unique. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It hit more notes after I drank it, and I didn't have anything else. So, do you want me to give it a rock rating?
Well, what are your thoughts? What are you thinking, James?
It definitely opened up.
Yeah.
I think the complexity came, like the first couple sips was like Oscar and you guys said, it was like, here's the flavor, and then you get punched in the face, and it's kind of mashed together.
Yep.
And I think as I sipped on it, it started to separate those layers a little bit more. The burn didn't last as long. I started to get some more of the graham cracker and the caramel and a little bit of the creme brulee. This is weird to say, dude.
Creme brulee now.
Like,
I think
I don't know if I've ever said this about a whiskey, but to me, this is like a patio whiskey.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Like-
what I was going to say too is, I think this is a perfect candidate for the water drop.
Yes.
You know what?
It's a patio whiskey, like a
Yeah.
hot summer day patio. Like normally, if I go to a patio, right downtown Denver,
Yep.
and I'm sitting there and it's 95 degrees outside, I'm hitting up an ice cold Modelo because goddamn,
You got to.
got to, right? Or I might go something fruity like
Slurpee
a
drink.
cucumber mint. No, or like a cucumber mint martini.
Yeah,
Shaken,
cucumber spa.
right?
Something like that.
right?
Yeah,
Or a
cooler.
mojito, something like.
Oh,
and I'm like,
mojito.
man,
Good
you know
mojito.
what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
However, and I would rarely choose a bourbon, let alone like an old fashioned or
Yes.
something like that. I could actually like it's almost I don't this is a weird conundrum
You can put an umbrella on that thing.
the burn's there, but it's light enough and like
Yes.
yeah, I don't know.
It-
I
it's-
don't want to say refreshing, but it's like I could drink this on a patio and be good.
Before I forget, I said it was a summary.
Yeah.
Yes, initially it is a summary.
It's a
of
well
what you're gonna get,
Wikipedia.
but
Yeah.
it has a postscript.
It does.
Yeah.
It has a PS.
Yeah. Yes.
Which is cool
Yeah.
because now you just the summary and you have a PS. Here's what you have.
Yeah.
So it's not a dragged out book, but it's a summary, and you're gonna have some.
Yeah, I think,
flavor
it was
afterwards.
a
Postscript.
pleasant surprise.
Yes.
Absolutely, the postscript was a pleasant
Yep.
surprise.
Yeah,
Pleasant surprise.
and what I would say, and we always talk about first time bourbon drinkers.
Oh wait,
right?
by the way, how do we rate these?
Oh, yeah. So this is our rock rating, and basically what we do is it's on a scale of 1 to 10, and that's because the more ice you tend to put in a bourbon, the worse it is. So the lower the score, the better the bourbon. That's how we do it, right?
It's like golf with Oscar's new irons.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
that's
not gonna
right.
play. I'm scared.
Oscar went and treated himself and got some
PXGs,
real
baby.
good custom.
I bought some
custom
PXGs.
clothes.
I was kind of bullied into buying them, and then I just
Bullshit.
I was.
You were not.
But you know what made me seal the deal was that I went to a couple stores that I won't mention their names, and the customer service was subpar.
Yeah. So hold on. I'm gonna put the kibosh on your bullied into buying him, because the fact of the matter is you went to 3 different stores on purpose. You weren't driving a Tesla that went haywire and was like, why do I keep ending up at these golf stores? You went to one, you're like, I got no service, fuck this place. Then you went to another, we're like, still got no service, fuck this place. So by the third one, you were screaming from the car, help me buy clubs.
Well, and I
somebody
knew-
finally went, you know what? I will help you buy
Because
clubs.
I knew they're known for customer service.
I get it. So you
They're
went
known for it.
exactly. So, you
So I
went
went
on
to go
purpose.
to double check that they were shit,
Unbelievable.
and then I
No.
came back and they were
Unreal.
like, "Come here, I got you. Give me a hug."
Yeah.
So,
I
I
love
mean,
you.
to your point, this would be
Anyway.
a great golf course bourbon.
Sure.
Speaking of,
I just put Misters on my
Dude,
patio, by the
the,
way. So.
Hey.
the Misters in a golf cart with the liquor stick.
Oh, dude, I'm just saying.
We're dreaming over here, guys. We're dreaming. We always talk about the first time bourbon drinkers, right? I think that this one would scare away.
Yes, 100%.
So some
this
people,
is not a first time bourbon
no,
drinker.
no. It's definitely, and not even coming from a I know bourbon kind of standpoint. It's, yeah.
No,
it's not that.
no.
It's strictly, especially if you get that neck pour.
Yes.
If for a non-bourbon drinker that gets a neck pour of this bottle, they're gonna taste it and be like, no.
I wonder if it's
can't.
because the neck is taller than most bourbon bottles.
Maybe.
It was that bad.
Maybe. It felt like the neck pour continued past the neck on this one. But again, to its graces, it did open up. So let's go ahead and give him the rock rating. I'm gonna sit back on this one.
4.5.
Okay.
I'm in the same realm. Initially, I would give it a different rating.
Yeah.
But because
I think it started as like a 5.5.
because we know bourbon, this is definitely not a beginner's bourbon.
Yeah.
A beginner's bourbon, it's someone that knows their bourbon, but they're gonna hang on to it because you're gonna spend the money. All right, let me finish it or finish drinking whatever comes first,
Yep.
and then give my opinion on it. And I'm glad that that's the way this carried out, because initially I would have said 5.5, 6
Yep.
all
Yep.
day, but then as it kept going, lingering, I'm empty. I still taste complexity. Whoa, game changer.
Yep.
I'm gonna give it a solid 4.5 as well.
Yeah, I think that's a 4.5 across the board, boys.
It's a good bourbon.
Yeah,
but you
it's-
have to wait for it.
Exactly.
this bourbon would be very good smoked.
Yes, absolutely.
I say that
It will take
because
well
I
to
had
take
I had the opportunity to have some Japanese whiskey while I was in Vegas, but I had
That's
it.
different stuff.
I had it smoked.
It's a whole nother one.
Total side note: we went to Nobu. I think I told you the
Yep.
story. I'd never been to Nobu before.
Did you go down to the speakeasy at the Mandalay?
No.
That place
Phenomenal
is
place
sick.
for an old
No,
fashioned.
after
place
we
is
went to
sick.
Nobu
Phenomenal place
and
for
dropped
old-fashioned.
like
A good amount.
a lot of money.
My golf clubs amount.
Almost.
Jesus.
I could have bought a nice set. I could have bought the iron set. Let's
Oh,
just put it that
Jesus.
way.
That's a
Yeah,
good.
I could have gone. I could have gone pitching wedge to 9 iron.
Hey, but you gotta treat yourself
sorry, pitching
sometime.
wedge to 4 iron, and I would have covered it.
Got to treat yourself.
But you gotta treat yourself. But I had a Japanese whiskey that was high rye.
They're not cheap. None of them.
and-
None of them.
And they're not cheap, but they smoked it tableside. And in my head, I look at this, and if you do like a cherry wood, right? Just because of you do get that initial burn, but then you get the sweetness. If you do a sweet smoke, I think this would actually be fantastic.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, all around. I think if
Yeah.
you do like a birch or something, I mean, cedar,
Yeah.
something that's not sweet, it would still pair. I mean, I think you nailed it. Something smoked with this would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, guys, as always, thank you for joining us on another episode.
Did you give it the rating?
Yeah,
4.5.
4.5
4.5? All right, 4.5.
Thank you guys for joining us again, guys. You can catch us. Our audio drops on Friday. Our videos on YouTube. Living in Colorado, the Mile High Perspective, between Monday and Wednesday. We have community spotlight videos. We have new home tour videos up there for you. You can get in touch with us by emailing us at resotr@themilehighperspective.com. Or
303-578-0263. Like and subscribe, guys. Give us some comments. We've gotten some good comments.
Yep.
We've gotten some hateful comments. I love all
keep
of them.
them coming. Keep them coming.
Just so you guys know, all of the comments, we can now respond via video.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for a good
Give
one.
me a chance.
I'm waiting for a good one. So keep them coming with stuff that you guys want us to talk about, right?
And give us some bourbons to try.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks going to the liquor store and be like, that one. You know, give us something that we might not.
Yep.
And if you guys want to get to know us a little bit more on a personal level, socials, guys.
The Colorado real estate guy, basically everywhere.
Oscar the Realtor, everywhere.
I am that lifting agent everywhere. And guys, this was a phenomenal episode.
I will
Viewers,
say one thing. If you guys are listening to this and you find it useful,
Our vocals.
right? Our vocals. If you like our hot vocals, give us a good rating.
Mm-hmm.
It helps us drive the channel. It helps us drive the podcast. And we love to see that, right? We really appreciate anybody that's giving us positive feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Turn that positive feedback into action. Click those stars, preferably all 5 of them. And then, like and subscribe, as we always say.
To my
Peace.
family and friends, thank you so much for the push.
We love
for my
you.
birthday weekend. Appreciate you guys. You
Happy
guys got us
birthday.
up.
Yeah,
Thank
Charlie's
you.
30.
I am 30.
Dang.
Now. All right.
I remember
we're
30.
doing
Charlie's 30.
it. Doing
Dang.
this thing, baby.
Shit.
But on that note, I'm going to go enjoy my 30s. Have a great day, everybody.
guys.
Catch
Cheers.
you later. Cheers.